Tom Barchard, co-host of a lot of different things, but mainly this show, which is diving in deeply to anxiety, depression. That is why we're here every Sunday night. I have finally opened that up to my audience now, so we are for the first time combining all of this together. And if this is your first time watching or listening us on the podcast, thank you so much for subscribing and being a part of this. And thank you for the Apple iTunes reviews. iTunes doesn't exist anymore. I still say it. I don't know why. It's your fault, Dr. T.
I know.
But tonight, just like every night that we are here on Sundays, we like to take one topic, out of our anxiety pool and try to break it down for everybody and get everybody involved. So it's a pretty easy one, and especially why we're combining both audiences tonight, because social media and mental health, I think, throughout this last year, the pandemic, and just in general, it's not exactly the greatest combination in the world, and obviously necessary thing, because it also does cool stuff like this, like brings us all together so we can chat and all that. So Dr. Z, how much does social media contribute to our anxiety and depression and things like that, especially like we were talking before this, the pandemic's probably increased a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I would say it directly impacts our anxiety and depression, and it's quite frequent. And obviously it depends on how often you use it, what you're using it for, what sites you're using. But overall, and the research has shown this time and time again, that there is a direct correlation between usage and frequency of usage and mood, anxiety, self-worth, self-esteem. It's all interconnected.
Yeah. And why is that? I guess, like, why is our the inclination to share as much as possible with everything and try to make it as such as our life is good and things are great, and that's all we use it for? Well, that and yelling at, I feel like celebrities and sports figures, pretty much.
Right.
And judging them
Right.
seconds. But outside of that,
from my couch with my chips.
Yelling at, yes, exactly. What is that inherent nature to feel we need to be at some certain level with this stuff?
Yeah. So I think there's two components to this. There's first why social media becomes so addicting, and kind of the actual neurological reasons why that is. And then there's the aspect of feeling like we have to measure up, feeling like we have to hit some sort of level or be in some certain place, either financially or career-wise or looks-wise or weight-wise, or friends-wise, So I'll start with kind of the reason from a brain standpoint why this becomes so addicting. So every time, one of the things about social media in general that we all know, we're all very aware of, is it's immediate gratification. Immediate. You want to look something up, on your friend's Instagram page and look at pictures. It's within seconds you can do that. So there's this immediate gratification. And when you think about how your brain works, when your brain gets used to getting this immediate gratification, a couple things happen. It changes the chemical makeup of your brain, and it also makes you have a lot more discomfort and anxiety in terms of waiting and being patient. And we talk about avoiding discomfort. Well, if you are so unwilling and the discomfort's so intolerable to wait for something because you're so used to instant gratification, you're going to end up engaging in behaviors that are not the healthiest to be able to get what you need right away. So there's that component. The other is that, they'll probably ban my account after this, but there's a reason why when you get notified that you have a message on Instagram or some sort of notification, there's a reason why it's red. There's a reason why it doesn't tell you who it is. You have to actively go in, open it up, see what it is. And there's a reason for that. It's that immediate kind of spurt of dopamine that you're getting. Yeah. Every time you do that, it's like gambling. Same thing. It's just you get these little spurts of feel-good chemicals. And when you get intermittent, we talked about intermittent reinforcement. When you get intermittent spurts of our feel-good chemical, you begin to crave it and crave it and crave it, which keeps you so sucked into this cycle of social media. And like any other addiction, you start to crave more of it and more of it. So you see your time spent on, your screen time spent become more and more and more, and your disconnect from socializing, from work, from concentration, attention. One of the things I see all the time when I have patients come in, usually around the ages, we'll say of like 22 and 30, concentration, attention, they'll say is horrible, terrible. Well, let me see your phone. I want to see how long you're on social media for. No one even thinks of that because that does a number on our concentration and attention. So there's that aspect of it. And then the emotional piece, in addition to that, is that we get into this cycle of using social media, and we're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. You're guilty of it. We get into this pattern of using social media as a barometer for where we should be at. But what we don't understand is this barometer that we're using is the result of other people putting out there where they want people to think they're at. So it's kind of like the barometer is flawed to begin with, because the people that are creating that image are doing exactly just that, creating an image. And I say this to everybody. How many times have you ever just put up the first selfie you took, regardless, no filtering, no cropping, no 500 times taking the picture and taking it down and putting it up? Nobody puts their first picture up. Nobody puts their failures up. And if they do, it's couched in some sort of, manner that doesn't make it so bad. And then that's where the whole toxic positivity comes in. But generally speaking, it makes us feel like there is something that we need to be doing better, different, again, like thinner, prettier, more successful, more friends. People now judge their self-worth by how many followers they have. Period. How many likes they get. Yeah, exactly. That's how people are measuring their friendships. Now, I can understand why that would be the go-to kind of mindset, but the thing you have to keep in mind is that any person can like anything. The illusion that that's correlated to the amount of friends and connections you have is a false illusion that social media creates. Likes technically have nothing to do with how many people like you,
or if your opinion's good, or if they're with you.
Correct.
And there could be 300 robots in there, and
that's exactly right.
Just to gas you up or do whatever.
Yep.
It is. And obviously some of this stuff is right in front of us and we kind of know it. You're pointing out selfies, and Rima's like, yeah, I mean, I'd probably do that too. And I felt I was like, is Dr. Z in my bathroom? Like, what's the deal? It's just a pattern, and that's a part of it. But along with that, yeah, like if it's a repetitious thing you're telling yourself over and over again, you don't even need social media for that. I mean, like you can have that idea stuck in your head, tell yourself that for a very long time, and then you end up believing it, and bad things happen, usually tend to happen after that. So it's I guess everyone says, hey, just get off your phone a little more, or delete your app every now and again, sure, but there's just I don't think it is that. I think there's a lot more steps to go to. Yes, turning notifications off is helpful, but if you're still going back to it, what is it really stopping? And if you still need that urge to do whatever to project the thing you're avoiding, right? I mean, that's what we're doing. We're just social media is a large amount of avoidance of our own stuff. Again,
that's exactly right. Oh, that sounds like me.
Hey,
yay!
You're teaching. week 9 and things are sinking in. I love this. So
no, it's absolutely right. It's what we turn to disconnect from whatever's going on around us, literally, or emotionally, or things we're thinking. If we're thinking about something and we don't want to think about it, what's the natural thing to do? We pick our phones up and we start scrolling. It's called mindless scrolling, meaning you're scrolling without a significant purpose. Really, the purpose is avoidant in nature. We're mindlessly scrolling because we don't want to sit with how we feel right now, or we don't want to pay attention to the person who's talking to us because we can't stand what they're saying. we're bored, right? Which boredom is really kind of another way to say I'm anxious about where I'm at right now in this moment and need to do something else. So it's all related to our inability to just sit. There is, though, a very, like I said, addictive quality to this. So when we tell people to limit their time or track their time and take a social media detox, that's great in theory. But I think what's missed a lot of the time, and I just had a conversation with a friend about this. When kids were on social media all year, right? That's how they connected to their friends because of the pandemic. So that's what they were doing. And as a result of that, they got those spurts of dopamine all year, right? And it continued, and you can't fault them because it was the only way they could interact with their friends.
Right.
When a lot of them went away to overnight camp, there was this sudden disconnect of all social media. And what ended up happening was a lot of kids were having difficulty kind of coping with that. And really what it is, it's withdrawal, however you want to put it, but it's withdrawal from social media usage. And so, it's going to be, and same when kids went back to school without that social media that they were so used to. Kids' attention, concentration was off. They were arguing more. They were having more behavior problems. Yeah, they were excited to be back in school, but you can't forget the chemical impact of social media addiction. It's there and it's real. So,
and like you said, they were doing it for a year.
A year. Like, correct.
That's yeah. And even then, I see. Is there a and yes, I'm already trying to think of an excuse of excusing the technology, excusing the behavior. Going, well, is that kind of a disconnect that school has had for a long time, and like being even at work and things like that? I've noticed that we're all changing those patterns. We probably hate going back to work at this point because of some of those reasons of being in control of 7 when we're walking on our PJs and just want to, and I'm the same way.
It's easier.
Yeah, so much
easier. It's easier. So yeah, I mean, it made it very easy. The pandemic made it very easy to kind of readjust your social outlook, I want to say, on things.
We don't know how to act either. I mean,
we don't know how to act. Correct.
It's summertime. It's heating up. We've been eating like shit for God knows how long too, because we haven't had to see anybody.
That's right.
Like we're drinking a hell of a lot more. That's just by the statistics. We're doing drugs a lot more. That's just by the statistics. That's true. We're getting into fights a lot more. So like now it is like, yeah, we don't understand. We've all been cooped up and during one of the most like heaviest political times of our life too, of just being involved and being all this. Everybody's got to stay in this one weird tribal place, and now we have to face reality again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of that was a mirage, and it
was. And also, especially when the pandemic was going on and the political divide, and people feel much safer behind their screens. So Susan, Susan, who they normally see at Whole Foods, in aisle number 5, they're not going to have an argument about the vaccine side effects and global warming, right? They're going to walk by each other and say hi. But when you're sitting behind your computer, you're not only are you interacting with more people in a way, but you're interacting differently with them because now you can go at it with Susan and Susan can go at it with you.
Yeah.
You're not standing in the produce aisle, right? So like you're not going to have those conversations. So we now are coming out of that, and now we're regrouping and we're socializing with people again in a different way that social media has prevented us from doing for yes, it was the pandemic, but social media allows us to continue that social disconnect.
We're socializing like shit right now.
Yeah.
Every single one of us are, because we all believe everyone else is the enemy right now, and it doesn't matter like how long you've known a person for. It does, and it's that is fake too. Like we don't realize right now how connected we are, and I think we notice that every Sunday night when we talk and do all these things. So, yeah, I mean,
it's interesting. It's interesting you say that about we don't realize how connected we are, because so I I'm going slightly off topic for a second, but I recently wrote something in Verywell. It's on my Instagram page, or contributed to, I should say, as me. Sammy wrote it, but okay. Anyway, but
something really cool.
But I can't take credit for writing. The expert, and I was the expert. Right. So
it's still worth something. Yes.
Yes. So it was about exactly this idea of moral. It was about moral fatigue, but basically we don't realize now the level of connectedness that we are a part of, meaning we have to now, when we go to, and again, I'm getting off topic, when we go to the post office, when we go to the supermarket, now we're not just getting in our car thinking about what we need to buy. Now we're thinking, do I wear a mask? Do I not wear a mask? If I've been vaccinated, but do I touch the cart? Do I stand 6 feet still? And what if someone else isn't wearing a mask? And what if I get them sick? And what if I bring it home? We never had to make these decisions before about doing such a mundane task. And it's called moral fatigue. We're exhausted from it. But one of the things that's coming out of this is this understanding that we were such an individualistic society, right? That everybody's on their own, independent. But now we're realizing, kind of in a roundabout way, that we're all so super connected, because all of the thoughts that you have to kind of go through in your decision tree just to do a mundane task that we used to just do, it's kind of mind-boggling. So I think that people are going to start to realize how interconnected we are, what that translates into, hopefully when the pandemic is like, when we've really gotten through it. What that looks like then, I don't know, but I don't think social media is going anywhere. I think if anything, it's going to continue to go, in the opposite direction. I think
it's okay.
Yeah,
right. At this point.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere, and so it's really going to be on the part of the person themselves to make a conscious effort to step outside of that and connect in a different way. Otherwise, this is so easy. It's so easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy.
You can kind of, and this is where I probably still need your advice to untangle a lot of those social media wires back to just social wires again, too, for a lot of different reasons. But I wonder if there's, getting to a point where you realize that social media is that image where it's almost, if you look at it, go like, everything I read is propaganda, no matter what it is. That helped me a lot, and just go, oh, it's a game. So once you kind of see that, it started to at least deprogram me a little bit. Be myself. I don't have to be on talking to some random loser with a screen name every 5 seconds.
That's right. And I think that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do the podcast the way we're doing it, just real, raw talking, none of the, because it's just, it wasn't us, and that's not what we wanted to contribute to, right? But I will have people, it's amazing. I will have people message me all the time asking, how the hell do you do all this? You have 3 kids, you see patients, you have a podcast, you're writing a book, you're doing this, you're writing articles, and on and on and on. And they're like, how do you hold it together? And I always read it, and then I'll call my best friends and be like, they think I have it together, and and we laugh about it because it's so funny to me that that's what I think I conveyed professionalism, yes, but never was it my intention to convey that I had it all together. So there's something where I didn't even intend to put that out there. Right. That's what people are perceiving. And I'm sitting here going, oh, I forgot to pick my kid up from school.
I literally almost burned the house down. What are you talking about?
I am. There's nothing, so again, I think also it's people it's the stuff that people bring to the table in terms of how they perceive you on the lens they filter it through. If they're feeling like they don't have anything to look forward to or anything to be happy about, they're going to see something on social media that may be benign to others, but they may interpret it as, I really don't have my shit together. Everybody has more than me. So it's not just what people are putting out there. It's also how you filter it when you look at it. Because what someone may look at me and say like, no, she's a hot mess, where someone else is like, how does she have it all together? So
and here's how we have it all together. Ready? Oh, it's in place now. Okay, great. That's basically like every
Correct.
every little blimp on the radar. A question coming in from Kim. Thank you again. Hello. Thank you for everybody tuning in. And if you're listening on the podcast, again, Sunday nights, 8:00 on Instagram and basically everywhere else. You can't really.
I have to plug my computer in.
That's number 2. I believe we're open. The score is getting closer with technical difficulties. I just want to point that out. But Kim asking, do you think social media has made it easier for those with social anxiety or are cautious of interpersonal relationships?
Yes, I do to an extent. I think it's a good way for people with social anxiety to initiate interactions because it's safer, it's a little bit easier. But I think after a while, what's going to happen is it still is an avoidant strategy to keep you disconnected from real social interaction. So I think it serves a purpose to get you moving in the right direction, to feel comfortable, to ease your way into it. But I don't think using it as a ongoing long-term social tool is healthy at all, actually.
Because just like everything else, Bumble and Tinder and all that,
That's right.
become very addictive. And
That's right.
the next thing you know, you're just swiping just to swipe.
That's right.
For no particular
Mindless swiping.
Mindless swiping.
Mindless swiping.
Happens literally all the time.
Mhm.
That's right. But you are right. That is how I met Carrie. I mean, I met Carrie on one of those apps.
Yeah.
That made me, and it was the only time I decided to break down and actually do that. So, and then it worked. So maybe I'm one of the lucky ones. That's part of that too, is just kind of chasing the problem with, and this, it doesn't even have to be a dating app, to be honest with you. Like because I know people meet on Twitter all the time. People meet on, shoot your shot in the DM Instagrams and all that other stuff. So Dr. Z is 100% right. Like once you meet that person, yeah, the idea in your head of that person's already going to trail off because, who knows if they're lying to you or not, first of all.
Right.
You end up seeing them in person, and then it becomes even more awkward because it's nothing like you expected, which
Correct.
is the dangerous part about it.
Right.
And then it leads to hopelessness and whatever else. But it's really not that. It's just you're picking in the wrong pool.
Mhm.
A little more. So, yes, like it's how can you stop yourself from it being that addictive though? I mean, it's incredibly hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's really what you need to do is you have to set limits for yourself. And it's very hard to set boundaries for your own behavior towards yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier sometimes to set boundaries in terms of other people, but it's really difficult to set your own boundaries. It's like weight loss, right? It's like when you diet, it's really difficult to set boundaries. Like, do I want to eat this or do I want to be, so it's kind of the same thing. There's certain apps that you can use to shut off certain social media sites when you hit a certain point, or you can track your usage in your, on your iPhone. You can go to settings, track your usage. You can go to the apps and track your usage. So there's ways to do that. Maybe only do it during a certain time period throughout the day. So like Monday, you only check it at 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Whatever you need to do, you get it done 6:30. It's done.
Yeah.
Which are all good in theory. What people need to understand, though, is it's not going to be a quick fix at this point in our lives, because there is going to be this kind of withdrawal effect. So you really have to kind of taper it down into, so maybe you are on social media 5 hours a day, right? And a culmination of 5 hours. Start with 4 hours and 45 minutes. Don't go to like, I'm only going to do an hour, because you're not. Because you're going to go through withdrawal,
Right.
and you're gonna do it, and then you're going to feel like you can't accomplish it, and it creates that helplessness and hopelessness cycle. So you really want to make sure that you are honest and kind of kind to yourself when you're setting these boundaries, and be realistic, and just start small. You have to rewire your brain. Literally, we have to rewire our brains, and the more we practice that over and over and over and over again, the more we can rewire our brains. It's like repetition over and over and over.
And creating that kind of new habit. And that's actually a question I had for you, because I notoriously follow the advice of, break a bad habit and try and create a good one. but are there things that you just like try and replace with social media that are just the same pattern as that, or not really?
So there's mixed views on this.
Okay.
Let me give you an unrelated example. So let's say that somebody was addicted to heroin and they got clean and they haven't been using, but they never really worked on what it was that they were avoiding by doing. They're clean, they're doing well, you know, and they haven't used, but now they have to sit with their shit, right? Now they have to sit with that. And so it then translates, you think of emotions it's energy. It has to go somewhere unless you process it appropriately and learn to sit with it. That's another way to carry them. It's still there. You just are carrying it differently. So your stuff is still there. You need to figure out what to do with it. And instead of carrying it differently, a lot of times they'll put it on something else. So let me give you an example where putting it into something else, the same type of pattern, but something healthier, makes sense for a while until it doesn't. Let's say they get really involved now in their health and wellness. And so they start working out. And let's say they start doing CrossFit, for example, and they become really into CrossFit and they become really they love it. And it's so healthy because we'd rather them be doing CrossFit than doing heroin. Yeah. So, however, and this is where there's a fine line. The frequency to which they are at CrossFit, right? The degree to which it takes away from other things in their life, the degree to which it isolates them from other things outside of CrossFit. So it's okay, but if you're using it again as another avoidance strategy, it's still going to end up maybe not, as heroin, the physical stuff, but it's going to have the same emotional consequences because you're still avoiding your shit, even though it's with a healthy pattern. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we kind of touched on that either last session or the session before. Oh, and by the way, real quick, and I'll come right back to this. Apple, get your stuff together for any reason. Everybody's watching live. If you didn't get Session 8's podcast and you're an Apple listener, it's stuck. Hopefully it shoots itself out, but we know it's there, and go to our Simplecast page if you haven't got that. But that kind of leans in towards, if you're leaving social media to become a workaholic.
Correct.
Thing, right?
Exactly.
You're doing it to work out 13 hours a day. It's not. It's a better thing, but like you were saying, it's not. It
still has the same. That's right, and it still has the same consequences from a social emotional standpoint. You're still disconnected, you're still isolated, you're still avoiding your shit, and the more you avoid it, whatever it is that you're doing, the larger it becomes. And at some point it's going to stop working for you, and then what do you do, right? So it's super important that we don't do that when we stop. Let's say we cut ourselves down to 2 hours a day on social media. Those times where I am just it's almost like you feel naked when you don't have access to it. You feel like you're missing out. You feel like you're, going to be left out of something, or you're not in the know. That discomfort is what you have to sit with. Don't reach for your phone as a way to get rid of that. You need to sit with that discomfort so that, one, you get used to it. Two, so that you know that nothing bad happens, and you realize that you didn't get left out of anything.
Yes.
Nothing bad happens. Everything is probably exactly the same. And if you did get left out of something, how long is anyone going to really remember that the party they went to last night? It's already gone and forgotten about as soon as they walk out the door and go home. Exactly. So it gives you the opportunity to show yourself that nothing bad is going to happen. But as long as you keep avoiding that by checking social media, you're getting those spurts of dopamine. And it just continues to create that very, very toxic, vicious cycle.
And man, another thing that has just been absolutely true in the past couple of weeks is what you mentioned already. Is like sitting in that anxiety, sitting in that depression, and going, well, why am I really reacting to this? And and yes, FOMO is real. Absolutely, it is. 100%. That's why it works in sales. That's why it works in a bunch of other different places.
Yeah.
People think they're going to miss out on stuff, but I feel as though like when you are so used to not dealing with your own shit and you finally kind of accept those baby steps that you're talking about. Oh, this is why I'm really anxious. This is why I'm really doing that. You know yourself a little better. You accept that about yourself so you can move on.
That's right. That's right. And you don't have to like it. You just have to accept that it's there.
Yeah. And I accept that I have Barchard clock, that it's probably 10 minutes later than everybody else. You know, I accept that and I recognize that and I go, well, you're the only one that's stopping you from getting better at it.
That's right.
And you hear that stuff all the time.
Yep.
Well, I don't have X, Y, you know, and if you start to hear that, and it seems really simple, but those are excuses.
Yep.
You know, like it's just, you don't want to deal with your own shit.
That's right.
It's okay not to, too, right? Like,
Well, so here's the thing. Find me somebody who, even if someone says, I want to work on myself, that's very different than saying, I really want to feel my shit and be uncomfortable. So understand, it's not, I don't think there's anybody, I mean, I should say anybody, but I don't really think there's many people who are going to say, I am so excited to sit in my shit. I am so excited to be uncomfortable and feel terrible. No one's saying that. They may say, I want to work on myself.
Yeah.
So I'm ready to face it and I'm ready to be uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean I'm enjoying it or it feels good. It's not going to feel good. That's why you've been avoiding it. If it felt okay, then we wouldn't be in this situation. So, you know, everybody has stuff that they avoid. Everybody has avoided strategies. Social media just happens to be one that not only do we have constant chronic access to, but it's not just us. Like with the CrossFit example, no one else around you, let's say, does it. It's just you and other people that you know, but no one in your immediate circle. There's literally nobody, for the most part, who does not have, even if you're not on social media, you still have immediate access to it if you wanted to be on social media. So it's so easy to get on. It's so easy to connect with people. You know, I can talk to people in different countries. I mean, it's so easy, right? I can talk to people down the street as easy as I can talk to somebody, you know, I don't know, anywhere, really, you know? So it makes it easy. It makes it accessible. And because of that, it becomes very difficult to differentiate between, I don't mean reality like psychosis, but I mean literally reality versus the reality we see on social media, because that's what we're living in a significant chunk of the time. You know, so if we see influencers posting pictures about being on boats, you know, and running 5 miles and then running another 5 miles with their baby in the stroller, and then they go to work, and then, you know, we see them and we're like, how the hell did they do all this? Little do we know, maybe after they do it, they hand the baby off to somebody else and they go do their thing. Like, you don't know, right? And so sometimes it can convey this message of you're not good enough, you're not doing enough, but yet you don't know what's going on behind closed doors on the other side and what the real situation is. And that's what causes these feelings of I'm not good enough. But again, that's why I said the barometer is so off to begin with, because
you're giving
this false
image of yourself.
And
it's really
it's really part of the problem. I have to be honest with you. This is a big reason why I stopped following certain influencers, because I found it to be so damaging. Just damaging. Yeah, just damaging that they conveyed this image, which I get. It's like appealing and everybody wants to look, and I fully understand that, and I absolutely respect it, and it's hard work, and I fully understand that. The part that would upset me is when I know that that's not really what's happening. Like, that's not the real deal. And so at least use your platform to be a little more vulnerable, I think. And you know, and I could be completely wrong with this. I mean, maybe people really want to see that helps them escape, but I don't see how that's possible. I think what it does is it makes people feel like what am I doing wrong? You know, and instead of saying either good for them, I'm better at other things, or like, well, of course she could do X, Y, and Z because she has X, Y, you know, she has this type of assistance, or do you know what I'm saying? So, and
there's a lot of crossover, I think, in the sports world, and I would say in the entrepreneur world and stuff like that, especially those social media accounts. Same thing. The thing I hate the most, that if you're the type of person that just says, hey, wake up and grind, just keep going, man. It's your success if you just keep running 14 hours or 15 hours or 16 hours. No, you know what that is? It's fucking stupid.
Correct.
And honestly, like shows like Shark Tank, where you have some of those people on there saying, I only sleep 4 hours a night and that's my success. Man, fuck you too. You know why you can do that? Because you have 25 handlers, just like Dr. Z was saying, and billions of resources at your disposal. But I'm sorry that my checking account goes like this, and I have no steadiness in my life. Robert Herjavec or whoever else is on that show. Too, but he's the one that said it, and I was just like, "You gotta be kidding me, man!" But the wake up and grind mentality is just so unhealthy. I can't even tell you.
It really is.
Someone preached time management and how to get the most out of those 8 hours.
Don't get started. I could talk about this for hours. The time management aspect. I said that in grad school. I said that, and I stand by this. There is nothing about grad school that was hard.
No.
What was hard was time management. Yes, it was the time management. It was brutal. No one taught you how to do it. You feel like you're running yourself into the ground. I mean, so I completely agree with you. And I think that the messages, again, that social media convey, whether it's you need to look like this, or your butt needs to look like this, or your bank account needs to have this in it, and you're sitting there figuring out how to do all that, but yet my computer just went off.
Sorry, everybody. Dr. Z's. That's 3. That is 3 in one night. That's what we call a trifecta, everybody.
God damn it.
I'm going to end it on our side.
It's not even
Sorry,
dead.
everybody. It just went to sleep. That's okay. Instagram doesn't know, because Instagram respects us, and that's why